Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome if you're new. So today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at all the SMG barrels in the game that offer bullet velocity. Now the reason why bullet velocity is important in Cold War is because there is a such thing as bullet drop. The less bullet velocity you have, the more chances of hit markers you're going to get when you're trying to shoot at a moving target. Obviously we want to increase our bullet velocity as much as we possibly can. And there are quite a few barrels in the game that claim that they do increase that bullet velocity. And the craziest things that I found out were that not all barrels are equal, even though they do tell you they do the same thing for different SMGs. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. So if you guys do enjoy this content, make sure to drop a like. I'd really appreciate it. And make sure to subscribe if you're brand new around here to make your way back to the channel, and make sure you have notifications on. So here we have all of the data that I have from all the testing that I've done as far as bullet velocity goes for all these barrels. As you can see, we have the barrels listed down here, as well as for different SMGs that are offered in the game. Now, I know this is very overwhelming at first, so let's just go over really quick like what everything really means. Here, I put the average after testing them multiple times, and I have the number of tests that I ran up here. So first, let's talk about the LC-10. So the LC-10 is one of the most popular guns in the game right now, especially because of its zero recoil, literally zero recoil. You don't believe me? Check out that video, LC-10 versus AK74u. The wall test is absolutely insane. It's literally like a tiny little dot. So that's pretty insane to me. And obviously people do want to use weapons that are really easy to handle and use. So anyways, so let's take a look at the bullet velocities here. So, and I'm going to show you an example, by the way, of how I came to get these numbers, just so you guys don't think that I just, pulled these numbers out of a black hole or something like that. All right, so just for example purposes and just to give you guys a visual of how I came up with all these numbers, I'm just going to show you one quick example of the MP5 with the extended barrel on it. So if you take a look at the bottom right hand corner where the magazine size is, it shows 30. As soon as that drops down to 29, that's when the timer is going to start counting. And then as soon as we see a hit marker on our screen, that's how we know when to stop the timer and how long it actually took for the bullet to travel. So this is with the extended barrel on the MP5. We're going to go frame by frame. Bam, the bullet has left the barrel and now the timer has started. We're going to keep going. There you go, 50 milliseconds. So 50 milliseconds at 40 meters out. And keep in mind, I tested this 3 times in a row for each exact attachment. And then I just took the average out of those numbers. And then that's how I came up with the data that you saw on the spreadsheet. The red here means you've got to avoid it as much as possible, because we're looking for a couple of things here. We're looking for consistency as well as the fastest hit detection as well. The extended barrel on the LC-10 is very inconsistent. That's why I marked it as a red to stay away from. How is it this much of a drastic change versus the base LC-10 with no barrel whatsoever? The base is a lot faster, obviously, here at 67 milliseconds, and it's consistent all the way throughout. Now, if you take a look at the testing as you move further down the table here, it really fluctuates. So that's why I just do not advise going with the extended barrel. If you want your gunfights to be as consistent as possible, definitely go with the Ranger barrel. The Ranger barrel gives us the best chances here to optimize the weapon's overall potential. And, the Task Force barrel too. I do recommend using the Task Force barrel. Now, if I were to actually pick between these two, I would definitely go with the Task Force, mainly because we do get that extra boost in that damage range. Now, another main thing that I noticed with the inconsistency of these barrels is that, let's say, for example, the reinforced barrel, right? It says it gives us 80% bullet velocity at 738 meters per second. Now, if we're going to compare this to the base bullet velocity at 410, the reinforced barrel, there definitely is a bug with it. I'm not really quite understanding why the game is telling us we get 738 meters per second, but it's not really giving us the hit detection that we deserve when we put on this attachment. So there's definitely something going on with the reinforced barrel. That's why I do advise to stay away from it. Now, the Ranger and the Task Force barrel, they do definitely give you some really good results as far as hit detection goes. Now, the reason why I tested the LC-10 and the AK74u at least 6 times, these little spikes, I always make sure to double check as far as testing goes, just to make sure there's no errors that were made here during my testing. For the AK74u, this is where it gets a little messy, and I think the AK74u has one of the most broken barrels in the game, most notably the Liberator barrel. So if we compare the Liberator to the base bullet velocity here, this just doesn't make sense to me. How is it almost the same as the base bullet velocity? So you're telling me if I put the Liberator barrel, we should be able to double our bullet velocity at 1000 versus 500, but in reality, it doesn't really make a difference. In some cases, it makes it even worse. So that's why the average came out to 81 milliseconds out of 6 times of testing. I have come to the conclusion that the Liberator barrel is definitely bugged and it is not working as intended, so stay away from it as much as possible. All right, so next up we have the Task Force barrel, another barrel to just stay away from. Yeah, I know it's very intriguing to want to put max damage on your barrel, but guess what? It's still going to be the same amount of shots to kill, and it literally only increases your extra damage range by about 2 feet. So there's just no point in using that. And then thirdly, look at this average here, 78 milliseconds. It's the same thing as the base AK74u with no barrel on it. So and aside from that, there's a lot of inconsistencies here as well. So you're better off using the VDV reinforced. This gave us the most consistent results and also the fastest hit detection compared to the base AK74u. So definitely I do recommend going with the VDV reinforced. So all of these SMGs here, besides the LC10 and AK74u, they were actually pretty consistent as far as the data went when I was going through these testings. So let's go ahead and take a look at the MAC-10. So the base bullet velocity is 200 and the average comes out to 150 milliseconds when you're testing all 3 at the same time. So with the MAC-10, I didn't really find anything crazy or anything out of the ordinary here. If I were to recommend a barrel, I would go with the reinforced barrel. It is on par with the Ranger barrel, but the Ranger doesn't give you that extra damage range. So if you're gonna try to maximize the potential of your weapon, you might as well go with the reinforced. All right, so for the KSP, the KSP was very consistent as well in its data. And again, the reinforced barrel is something that you do want to use on the KSP. Everything else is just, nothing really stood out to me. Nothing was really crazy here. If you want the best overall hit detection with the KSP, reinforced is definitely the way to go. All right, so moving on to the MP5 down here, the average is 106. Nothing seemed to surpass that after I've tested out the averages for all of the barrels. I do recommend to stay away from the Ranger and the Task Force once again. Well, mainly because there's just way too many inconsistencies here with the numbers. 83, 50, 117, and then it averaged out to 83 milliseconds. So obviously, if you want to get more consistent gunfights, you should stay away from the Ranger. Task Force barrel was also inconsistent. You would think just because it shows 437.5 meters per second versus a 450 meters per second with the reinforced, you would think that these numbers wouldn't be too far off. So there's definitely something going on with the Task Force barrel on the MP5 as well as the Ranger. It's very inconsistent here as well. So this just doesn't make sense to me. You get 500 meters per second of bullet velocity, but your average is actually worse as far as hit detection goes versus the reinforced. So reinforced, once again, is the winner here. So the Milano had a really crazy interesting stat. I'm just going to point this out. The reinforced barrel, very consistent here. 50 milliseconds all 3 times at the same exact ranges, come out to an average of 50 milliseconds. Now the Ranger barrel I would stay away from once again. So as you can tell, there's definitely something going on with the Ranger barrel as far as inconsistency goes. The inconsistencies here, it just doesn't make sense. How are you going to tell me we're going to get more bullet velocity, but the shots actually don't hit faster than a reinforced barrel with less bullet velocity? Clear decision here on the Milano is for sure the reinforced. There's just no debate about it here. I would say aside from the MAC-10, the Bullfrog had some pretty solid attachments that you can't really go wrong with. It just really depends on what you're looking for or your play style, etc. Base velocity is 250 at 156 milliseconds average, but once you add that 350 bullet velocity from the extended barrel, it averages out to 56 milliseconds, which is incredibly insane. That's already like less than 100 milliseconds. So the extended barrel would be really great for a small map like Nuketown for sure, especially at this range that I tested at 40 meters. And imagine anything inside that, it would be a lot more beneficial. Now, if you're going to go with a mid-size map, I would go with the reinforced. Again, it's a very low millisecond count here, so your hit detection is going to be really great with the reinforced. And again, the Ranger, very inconsistent, 117, 50, 67. We don't really have that consistency here, so the average is going to come out slightly slower than the reinforced. And again, Task Force barrel, very inconsistent, so I would for sure stay away from that. There's definitely a lot of inconsistency with all the guns here, with all the attachments. It doesn't matter, it's not uniform for every single SMG. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. So let's go ahead and take a look at the best class setups for how we should be running our SMGs. All right, so here we are in the gunsmith. We're going to be taking a look at all the SMGs and their best attachments after we have already seen the data, and we're going to base it off of what we know now. The LC10 For the muzzle, I'm going to go with the SOCOM Eliminator. This is going to give us that vertical recoil control to make this gun an absolute laser. Like I stated, you could either go with the Ranger barrel or the Task Force barrel, but if you ask me personally, I would rather go with the Task Force barrel, mainly because it gives us more effective damage range versus the Ranger. It only gives you that 100% bullet velocity. Underbarrel is going to be the Field Agent Grip, magazine is going to be the 45 round, and handle is going to be the Airborne Elastic Wrap. If you want to go ahead and run an optic, you can certainly do so. I do recommend using the Microflex LED, or with the body, you could go with the Soft Target Designator, and the stock, you can go with the Raider stock or the no stock. The MAC-10 is one of those weapons that I do advise to use all attachments on it. It's a very attachment heavy weapon, mainly because you can't really run a stock on it unless you're one of those people who don't mind the weird iron sights on it, because if you don't run a stock, you're gonna have a hard time seeing what's going on in front of you because of those huge iron sights. Me personally, I'd rather run most of the attachments on this gun except for the optic, of course, because you know it's just weird using an optic on the MAC-10, but you can if you want to. Muzzle, I'm going to be going with the SOCOM Eliminator. Barrel is going to be the Reinforced Heavy. Body is going to be the Soft Target. Underbarrel is going to be the Field Agent Grip. Magazine is going to be the Salvo 53 round Fast Mag. Handle is going to be the Airborne Elastic Wrap, and the stock is going to be the Raider stock. Mainly because I do prefer the iron sights with the Raider stock versus the no stock. There is really just a really big difference here with the stock. So the stock is just everything you need, as much visual as much as possible on your opponent. Without it, you're gonna have a lot of trouble with your gunfights. I like the Bullfrog mainly because you don't need to run all the attachments on it for it to be effective. Muzzle is going to be the KGB Eliminator. Barrel is going to be the VDV Reinforced. Underbarrel is going to be the Spetsnaz Grip. Magazine is the 85 round Fast Mag. You could really use whatever you want here. This is all just personal preference. Handle is going to be the 𝗧𝗓 Elastic Wrap. Next, we got the KSP. KSP is just built a little bit differently here. Muzzle is going to be the SOCOM Eliminator. Barrel is going to be the Reinforced Heavy. And the underbarrel is going to be the Field Agent Foregrip. Handle is going to be the Airborne Elastic Wrap, and stock is actually going to be the no stock, so that we don't have as much hipfire penalty when we're using this weapon, because when you're up close and personal, it's going to be really tough to get a good accuracy on your opponent when you're wasting time trying to ADS. Before you know it, you might already die, so you might as well just hipfire in that situation. That's why we're running with the no stock instead of the Raider stock, which actually doubles your hipfire con to it. AK74u, we got the KGB Eliminator. Barrel is going to be the VDV Reinforced. Underbarrel is going to be the Spetsnaz Grip. Magazine is the 𝗧𝗓 Mag Clamp. This is a personal preference because, in my opinion, the AK74u is really great as a rushing type of weapon. So with the 𝗧𝗓 Mag Clamp, this is going to minimize our ADS cons as much as possible. I mean, you could use something else like a 40 round drum, but you know, your reload quickness is going to be really slow. So in situations where you have multiple opponents, you definitely do want to reload your weapon as fast as possible. That's why I go with the 𝗧𝗓 Mag Clamp. Handle is going to be the 𝗧𝗓 Elastic Wrap. And by the way, with the Spetsnaz Grip, you could actually use Spetsnaz Speed Grip if you want to. I actually do like using the Speed Grip if I'm going to be rushing pretty hard. But for those out there who have a hard time controlling the recoil in general, go with the Spetsnaz Grip. All right, and we have the Milano here. So for the Milano, we're going to be using the SOCOM Eliminator. Barrel is going to be the Reinforced Heavy. Body is going to be the Soft Target Designator. Underbarrel is going to be the Field Agent Grip. Or you can go with the SFOD Speed Grip. You know, the Milano has some pretty good recoil control to it. Magazine is going to be the Salvo 55 round Fast Mag. Again, another personal preference on the Milano. Handle is going to be the Airborne Elastic Wrap. Stock is going to be the Raider stock. If you're going to run a 5 attachment setup, you can just remove the body and remove the stock. Last but not least, we have the MP5. So the MP5 SOCOM Eliminators for your muzzle. Barrel is going to be the Reinforced Heavy. Body is going to be the Steady Aim Laser. Steady Aim Laser will give you more hipfire accuracy. If you want to run something different, go ahead and use the Soft Target Designator. Underbarrel is going to be the Field Agent Grip, or you can go with the SFOD Speed Grip. Magazine is going to be the Salvo 40 round Fast Mag, and handle is going to be the Airborne Elastic Wrap, and the stock is going to be the no stock. So that's about it as far as all the SMGs go and what changes I would make to these attachments. Now, there is going to be a huge overhaul as far as weapon tuning next week on Monday. The patch notes are going to come out, so I'll definitely be making a video based on what actually changed. If you guys do want to stick around for that, make sure to leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. It helps me out with the algorithm and helps the channel grow. And also make sure to subscribe if you're brand new around here so you don't miss a future video, and make sure to have notifications on. And I will see you guys in the next one. Let's go, baby. Yo, if you guys are always on your computer all day or you like to game for long sessions, definitely check out gameradvantage.com for these blue light blocking glasses. Quite literally the best blue light glasses that you can ever find on the market. Make sure to check out gameradvantage.com and just learn more about it, man. There's so many benefits to keeping your eyes nice and healthy. You won't feel that strain at the end of the day, and you'll go to sleep like a baby at the end of the day, and that's the best part. You won't feel tired at all. Definitely check out gameradvantage.com. Use code TURBO at checkout.